Hello, I'm John Grom, and welcome to our 228th Right and Left Discussion Forum. We hold our televised discussions twice monthly to demonstrate the value of civil, productive, open-minded political dialogue. Today, our panel will discuss the August Ohio election, where Issue 1 is the only issue on the ballot. Issue 1 calls for a change to the Ohio Constitution, which would raise from 50% to 60% the plurality of votes required to make a change to the Ohio Constitution. Today's panel is reduced due to the scheduling conflicts with Ron and Tom. We will begin with Patty Haskins, former member of the Wadsworth City Council and the faculty of Wadsworth Senior High School, and Bryan Laubaugh, president of R&B Financial Services. Patty, earlier this year, Governor DeWine announced the elimination of August elections in Ohio, but here we are with special elections to make changes to the Ohio Constitution. What do you make of all that?
Well, I think we first of all have to look at the bill itself and what it's going to say on the ballot. Starting in, I think, 1912, it was ruled that amendments to the Constitution could be passed with a 50 plus 1% vote within the state. That was not the way the original Ohio Constitution, I think it was 1803, was established. It was higher, but it was changed, as did a lot of states. And the reason being for the majority. What this new, what the issue is on the ballot is it would change the passage of an amendment to the Constitution from being 50% plus 1 to 60% of those that vote for it. It would also change the number of signatures that would be required for the citizenry to be able to place on the ballot an amendment to the Constitution. At present, it is only required that a certain percentage of 4 or 5%, I think, of those that voted in the last governor's election in 44 counties be obtained in order to place the ballot upon or place the issue on the ballot in an election. This new issue would change that to all 88 counties, that in order to place the issue on the ballot, you would have to get 5% of the voters from the last governor's election in all 88 counties in order for the issue to make the ballot. So this would, in essence, mean that one county could prevent an issue from going to the ballot. The other change that it makes is at present, there is what they call a 10-day cure period, where if those putting in that petition do not have enough signatures or have some invalid signatures, they have 10 days to make corrections so that they can still get that issue on the ballot. That 10-day waiver period would be removed under the present issue. Now, that is what is on the ballot at this time, which is interesting because in most of the ads in favor of it, that's not even mentioned. Other issues are mentioned. I have some real problems with this issue, and one of which, you just mentioned, John. Last year, a bill was passed by the legislature that August elections should not be held except in very rare cases, because if it is an extremely important issue, that we should not be making those decisions at an election time which has such a low voter turnout. It's expected, for example, that this issue may garner only 10% of the registered voters within the state. Immediately after passing that, though, it was immediately the Republicans then determined that, except in this case, we want to put this on the ballot. And the primary reason is because of an issue that is going to come up in the November ballot, which was likely to, but as of yesterday, I believe is definitely going to be on the ballot. And that is an abortion issue.
And that, excuse me, that is going to be on the ballot?
Yeah, I heard yesterday that they did obtain enough signatures and it will be on the ballot. Now, that may be wrong, but that's what I heard yesterday. So, because I think they were short, I think originally like 40,000 or something signatures, and they were able to obtain those.
Okay, but if I understand it right, on November, we're going to be voting on a constitutional amendment that guarantees a constitutional right to abortion. Is that what it is?
Yes, with certain conditions. The other thing, and that is, it's interesting because when I've seen the ads for this, the issue that's going to be on in November is not going to give the citizens of Ohio the right to have an abortion at any time, any place, anywhere. It is going to do some restrictions. I think it restricts it to 26 weeks as opposed to the 6 weeks ban, which is presently in place. The only exception for later terms are in the event of the health of the mother, I believe, if I'm not mistaken on that. But it's not.
Now, excuse me, the wording that you're talking about now is going to be on the November ballot.
Yes, exactly. And it's not.
But excuse me, I'm really confused here. In November, are we going to be voting on a constitutional amendment?
Yes.
Okay, and the election in November, then, if it passes, that the amendment is passed?
Yes, I believe.
Okay.
That's the way I understand it, which is why this particular election we're having in August is there to try to at the present time, I think it's been stated that there's about 50, I think it's 59.7 something percent or 58.7% in polls of the populace in Ohio is in favor of the constitutional amendment that's going to be placed on the ballot in November. So if the limit is raised to 60%, then it would likely be defeated. Okay.
Okay.
And this is a tough one for me because I am pro-life. And I don't.
But you don't want to see it happen that way.
But I don't want to see it happen that way. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there are some real problems, with this particular issue. Number one, like I said, supposedly, Republicans pushed, and rightfully so, probably, that really important issues shouldn't be decided in August. They put the bill in, but then when it's convenient for them, they turn around and do this. I think the other problem that you have is a second problem is that you're limiting the ability of the people of Ohio to propose an amendment to the Constitution or to get it passed, because they would have to get that extra 60%. So what you're allowing then is strictly for amendments to be presented by, the state legislature. And by the way, most of them are. Something like 80% of the amendments to the Constitution are proposed by the state legislature. Now, very honestly, I think the Republicans could be shooting themselves in the foot by this, because if they lose that supermajority and then the Democrats obtain that, they would not be able to make any changes in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. A third problem that I see is that, and it's because of the fact we do have a one-party rule basically in Ohio, that we are making it more and more difficult for the citizens to overrule anything or any rule that they find egregious made by our legislature, which in a gerrymandered state like Ohio, with a legislature that has ignored the fact totally ignored the fact that Ohio passed a bill saying that the state needed to be changed as far as the way our districts are drawn. We're leaving it to that particular group to make all the decisions, and I have problems with that.
Okay, Bryan, do you have problems with this issue?
Well, I think in principle, I have a problem with August special elections. I haven't worked the polls as long as Patty has, but I have worked an August election, and it's painful for the workers. We have very low turnout. I really don't care for this, I guess, template that they've thrown out there that you, for instance, this last election for mayor, the only reason they did it to a primary was because they were hoping for a low turnout. And my feeling is that the only reason they're putting this on in August is they're hoping for a low turnout, and then they can energize their base, and with a very small percentage of people, get this amendment passed. That's the problem I have with this. I'm not sure if, it takes 3/4 of a state ratification for the Constitution of the United States. It takes 2/3 of the Congress and Senate to get an amendment passed. So those thresholds are higher than 50%.
Right.
So when it comes to amending the Constitution, I think it should be difficult. And if it takes 2 election cycles to do it, then it should. We should be voting on this amendment in November and then doing the other one, in the next cycle, so that you get more people. It's very clear that more people vote for the governor, or more people come out for the regular election than these special elections. So it just doesn't sit right with me, just the way they've gone about it.
Right.
That's the issue that I have with it. This the way they've gone about it. Whether we need 60% and so many counties, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, and nobody likes to hear this, but we've got a fair amount of alt-right folks that were elected in this manner to our Ohio legislature. And the moderates down there that have now been cast as anti-Trump and rhinos that just won't bend the knee are having a really difficult time getting any legislation passed that makes any sense. Because if you do it in a bipartisan way, you're viewed as a sellout,
Right.
So I struggle with that. I struggle with that whole notion that somehow you have to drink the Kool-Aid and you have to be part of our religion. And unless you are, then you're the sellout. You compromise is a dirty word and all that kind of stuff. So I really struggle with these special elections just from the standpoint of trying to get around regular order, and I look at it that way, that regular order is you have elections and they're set. Everybody knows it. They come in November and do it that way. Now, speaking to the abortion thing, if you've gone to any downtown activity over the last, I would say 6 months, there have been people gathering signatures for this particular issue, the abortion issue.
A pro or con?
For it.
To get it on the ballot.
To get it on the ballot. I would argue that their spiel is not really, I would say, honest. Okay, they've taken a little bit of the truth and they've spun their way around it, because when they approach you and they give their 1 minute elevator speech, it doesn't sound anything like an abortion bill. Okay, it's
right.
To protect the rights of the mom. We want the mom to be able to have the ability to choose this and choose that and everything. The word abortion is nowhere in in their presentation, their little spiel to you. And then you find out, and that's one of the reasons why I personally, I don't sign any petition, when people are downtown, a special interest group or downtown, or they come to my door, and knock on, and they want to, and I'll just say, I don't know that much about it. I really don't feel comfortable signing it. And they go on their way. So that issue in and of itself, I would really have to look at, because I don't know if it's been sold to the public, the general public in Ohio. I don't think they really know what they're voting for. And that's the other thing, is that you read that this is the first time anybody has been able to explain it to me. And I trust Patty, because Patty works at the Board of Elections. She reads these things. And that's the first time anybody's ever explained it to me. When I ask people, what is it that we're voting on in August? And I work at the Board of Elections. Maybe I shouldn't know, because I'm not supposed to, talk to people about it when they come to vote. But, it's the first time that I even went online and looked it up and listened. And it's like, I don't know about that. And so everything just doesn't fit for me when it comes to this. So I would really struggle. I hate to say this. I would really struggle to vote for it. I just, on principle, I don't think I could, because why are we doing it in August? Let's, if we're going to play by the rules, let's start now and let's play by the rules. We started this last year. Patty's right. Republicans they don't want any more special elections. Let's just stick with it. And this should not have come up. This should not have been put on the ballot. And we don't even talk about the cost.
$20 million.
$20 million. Okay. And I get $157 of that for a 12-hour day. Maybe, no, it's more like a 14-hour day, because, by the time you get everything back to the Board of Elections, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I just, on principle, I don't think I could vote for it. I know that there are people that I respect and trust. They're all for it, but for me, it just doesn't feel right. Why do we have to do it in August? Why do we have to say one thing and then do another? I just, I'm a little sour on it. So,
yeah. Well, I think that here in our 10th year, we've hit a milestone. We all agree. I'm against it just based on the fact that I don't like this kind of political chicanery. And the dishonesty that goes with it. I watched the ads, both pro and con, and they both lie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's we've gotten to a point in politics where I suppose there are enough voters out there that just love lies. The people just keep promoting them. But, it reminds me of 2013 and Harry Reid. Harry Reid, as the Senate Majority Leader, was able to change the rules. So, Harry Reid was having a problem getting federal judges.
Oh, the judges. Yeah.
And so he was able to change the rules to lower the threshold from 60% to 50%. So he was able to get a lot of judges approved. Well, then the Democrats fell out of the majority, and Mitch McConnell came along, and he extended that Harry Reid ruling to cover Supreme Court justices as well. What happens is that we've now got a super majority of Republicans in the Supreme Court, and that in addition to, I know there were so many federal judgeships that Trump was able to get. We've got a lopsided judiciary now, all because Harry Reid. It was a temporary expediency for him to get these federal judgeships. Now he's been asked before he died, he was asked in his retirement if he had any regrets about that, and of course he said no, absolutely not, because it was a wonderful thing. But personally, I just don't like this. This is political chicanery.
Yeah. you mentioned, Bryan, like what was in the bill and stuff. You can actually, if you go online at the Board of Elections, you can actually read what's going to be on the ballot. So you can see what you're voting on. Now, if all you have done is watch commercials about and ads in favor of this bill, you would be looking long and hard for something that doesn't exist on the ballot. Almost all of the ads that I have seen say that they're there to prevent outside influence, which it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Or that they are
corporate greed. They want to fight corporate greed.
Yeah. If you vote in favor of this, you will prevent abortion from occurring. Well, the bill has nothing to do with that. Yeah. The intent is eventually down the line. The one that really gets me, and I've seen this ad quite often, is that vote for issue 1 so that we give parents the right to know what their children are being taught into school and to keep CRT, that type of language and the woke language out of our schools. That bill has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Well, but it doesn't have anything to do with abortion either, but that was the whole reason for the thing in the first place.
Exactly.
Well, but see what happens is each side pulls their base, and whatever gets the best reaction out of the base, that's what they go with, even if we don't believe it. Even if we know that it's a red herring, it's a straw man, whatever you want to say it is, they run with it because it drives people to the polls. I've had people tell me, and when I question them, I say, that's not even true. Yeah, but it polls well.
Yeah.
Is that where we're at today? Is that it polls well? And so we go with this garbage about CRT and nurses. We don't have that here.
No.
We go with this, they poll people. It's like, oh, the school board in your local district is filled with communists and liberals and transgenders. We got to vote them out. And when you say it's like, we don't have any of that in our, well, it polled well,
Yeah, and you don't in most schools. I
exactly.
Would never say that it doesn't exist somewhere, but that's just not the fact. And, again, I go to church, and in the church bulletin is a big flyer saying to vote yes on issue 1.
Really?
Because of the
we don't do
abortion
that in our
issue.
church.
They're pushing it hard. And I have a real problem with that. It's like, okay, I am pro-life, and I will look at that issue on the ballot in November. But this one it's fraud, in my opinion, to try to get this passed in this way. And we should fall for
reminds me of 1960. I went to Mass at St. Aloysius Church in Columbus. And during the sermon, the priest said it was a mortal sin to not vote for Kennedy.
Oh, I remember hearing it was a mortal sin not to support the Vietnam War. That was in the 60s. So, yeah.
That was in church too?
Yeah. So, but that's really, it's really a problem, I think, when we're using this type of, in my opinion, fraud. But we're seeing that in all election ads anymore.
Has it always been this way?
No. No. Social media has made this monster that we're dealing with now, because it's all about clicks and engagement. Okay. And that's where the polling really goes askew, because nobody answers their phone really anymore. Okay.
No.
So they have to depend upon Facebook, Instagram, when they push these polls out. And what happens is you're in this loop. And I mean, if all you do is get your news, as Patty's mentioned, from one source, you'll never get balance. You'll never. Your Facebook, more people get their news from Facebook now than legacy media. I don't know if you know that. We've crossed that. We've crossed that threshold now, that more people And so more companies, more governments, they use social media to sway people, and it works. And that's the scary part about it, is it works. So it's sad that people don't take the time anymore to really, find out what the issue is. That's an indictment on me. I had not really looked at it. All I knew is that in August, I'm going to have to sit there and see, 28 people come and vote for this thing.
And the interesting thing in the election in August, a lot of the voting places have changed. I know mine has changed.
Mine twice.
I'm voting now. I think at Isham, but I have not received a card from the Board of Elections.
Yeah.
Now, supposedly I should have. Now, maybe it just hasn't come yet, but I'm wondering if a lot of people end up going to the wrong place. I'm guessing some of the changes are simply to consolidate because of the low numbers.
Yeah.
And they don't have to get as many workers. But
mine were conflicts in date. Like, I started out being assigned to the Now Church.
And yeah, that was where I normally vote.
Then they had a conflict in their schedule. Then it got to the, what's that other church? Freshwater or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So that was supposed to go to there. And then when I called them up and said, hey, I just want to make sure you're going to send me some stuff, they said, oh, the location has changed. And I think it's Isham.
Yeah, I think I vote at Isham. And the only way I know that is I read in the Medina Gazette, and they actually posted where the changes are. If you vote at, and one of them was, if you vote at the Now Church, you'll now vote at Isham.
Yeah.
I then went back to the Board of Elections website, and anyone can go to the Board of Elections website and looked up exactly where I was to vote, because they'll give you your precinct location. And just to double check. And that's how I know it's at Isham School. But I'm guessing a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we'll find out. Trust me. We'll have people come or not show up. This really is a mess. And just, it doesn't have to,
I don't think
it doesn't have to be that way.
When it comes to politics, truth just doesn't work anymore.
True.
No.
For anything.
Unfortunately.
So long, folks. Good discussion.
See ya. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Take care.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.